The tube was wedged between the passenger seat and the center console of his pristine, black Escalade. It wasn't a tube of hand lotion. It wasn't sanitizer. It was a brand of silicone-based personal lubricant that I had never bought, and that we certainly never used. When I cleaned my husband's car, I found a tube of lubricant under the seat. Before we mix this volatile compound of revenge, if you believe that cheaters always get caught, sometimes in the stickiest of situations, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss the moment the paramedics arrive. Now, let's get into the story. My name is Dr. Zara Mitchell. I am 38 years old. I am a senior polymer chemist for Apex Materials. My life is dedicated to the study of bonds, covalent, ionic, and adhesive. I create industrial glues that hold skyscrapers together during earthquakes. I design sealants for deep-sea pipelines. I understand, better than anyone, how things stick together, and how they fall apart. My husband, Darnell, is a personal trainer and the owner of Mitchell Fitness. He deals in sweat, vanity, and the superficial. He believes that if he smiles bright enough and flexes hard enough, the world will bend to his will. For 7 years, I thought our bond was unbreakable. I thought the late nights at the gym were about building our future. But holding that slick, half-empty tube in my gloved hand, sitting in the driveway of our suburban Atlanta home, I realized the only thing Darnell was building was a lie. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. A chemist does not react emotionally to a volatile sample, she analyzes it. I looked at the tube. It was warm. He had used it recently. I looked at the passenger seat. It was reclined slightly further back than I ever set it. And then, I looked across the street. To the house with the red door. Tisha's house. Tisha was the friendly neighbor. The divorcee who was always jogging past our house in spandex that looked painted on. The woman who Darnell had been training for a marathon for the past 6 months. The pieces clicked together with the precision of a molecular lattice. The private sessions. The late nights. The tube. Darnell wasn't just cheating. He was doing it right under my nose, likely in this very car, parked in driveways and side streets, treating our marriage like a joke. I said nothing, just quietly replaced it with industrial glue. But not just any glue. I went into my garage workshop. This was my sanctuary, lined with compounds and prototypes that I wasn't technically supposed to have at home. I pulled out a silver canister labeled Prototype X74. It was a cyanoacrylate hybrid I had been developing for the Navy. It was designed for rapid, high-tensile emergency hull repair. It didn't just stick. It fused. It cured in seconds upon contact with body heat and moisture. And once it set, it had a tensile strength of 4,000 psi. You didn't peel it off. You had to surgically excise it. I took the lubricant tube. I emptied the slick, silicone gel into the trash. I cleaned the inside with a solvent. Then, carefully, wearing a respirator and heavy gloves, I injected the X74 adhesive into the tube. The consistency was identical. Clear. Viscous. I screwed the cap back on. I wiped it down. I walked back to the Escalade. I wedged the tube back between the seat and the console, exactly where I had found it. This was the hook. It was a trap. A mine waiting to be stepped on. But there was a hidden secret suspense ticking beneath the surface. As I was cleaning the car, I had found something else. Tucked deep in the glove box, underneath the insurance papers, was a second phone. A burner. I hadn't unlocked it yet, I needed Darnell's thumbprint or passcode, but I had seen the notifications lighting up the lock screen before the battery died. They weren't from Tisha. They were from a contact labeled the supplier. And the messages were not about sex. Shipment delayed. The gym is compromised. Need a new drop zone. Darnell wasn't just a cheater. He was involved in something dangerous. Mitchell Fitness wasn't just a gym, it was a front. And Tisha? I suspected she wasn't just a mistress. She was the new drop zone. I needed him to go to her. I needed him to expose himself, not just as an adulterer, but as whatever criminal he had become. I needed the police involved, but I needed it to look like an accident. Darnell came home an hour later, whistling, swinging his gym bag. He kissed me on the cheek. He smelled of shower gel and deceit. "Hey, baby," he smiled, flashing those perfect teeth. "Car looks great. Thanks for washing it." "You're welcome," I said, chopping vegetables with a knife that was very, very sharp. "You have a late session tonight?" "Yeah," he sighed, feigning exhaustion. "Tisha. She's hitting a wall with her cardio. She needs a private consult. I might be late." "Don't wait up." "I won't," I said. "Make sure you stretch. You don't want to pull anything." He grabbed a protein shake, grabbed his keys, and headed back out to the Escalade. I watched from the kitchen window. I saw him reach down between the seats. I saw him check for the tube. I saw him smile. He backed out of the driveway. He didn't go to the gym. He drove 50 feet. He pulled into Tisha's driveway across the street. The garage door opened. He drove inside. The door closed. I waited. I sat on my front porch, sipping iced tea. The sun began to set. The neighborhood was quiet. Birds were chirping. It was the perfect picture of suburbia. 10 minutes passed. 20. I imagined the scene. The hushed giggles. The clothes shedding. The reaching for the tube. The application. The heat. The moisture. The chemical reaction. Suddenly, a scream shattered the evening air. It wasn't a scream of pleasure. It was a scream of primal, unadulterated horror. It came from Tisha's house. Then, a male voice joined it. Darnell. Roaring in pain and panic. "Get it off. Get it off me. It burns. It's stuck. Darnell, help." What happened then made the neighbors call an ambulance. Lights flickered on up and down the street. People stepped out onto their porches. Mrs. Higgins next door looked at me. "Zara? Is that Darnell?" "I don't know," I said calmly, taking a sip of tea. "It sounds like an animal is dying." The garage door of Tisha's house began to rattle. Someone was trying to open it from the inside, but they were stumbling, crashing into things. "Help. Call 911. For God's sake." Darnell screamed. Mrs. Higgins grabbed her phone. "I'm calling them." Sirens wailed in the distance almost immediately. The fire station was only 2 blocks away. A fire truck and an ambulance turned onto our street, lights blazing. They pulled up to Tisha's house. The firemen ran to the garage door. They pried it open with the jaws of life. The door rolled up. And there they were. Darnell and Tisha. They were connected. Intimately. And permanently. The X-74 had said instantly. They were fused together in a position that was anatomically undeniable and socially catastrophic. They were writhing on the concrete floor of the garage, naked, screaming, locked in a chemically bonded embrace that no amount of pulling could break. But as the paramedics rushed in with blankets to cover their shame, I saw something else in the garage. Stacked against the wall, illuminated by the flashing red lights of the ambulance. Boxes. Dozens of cardboard boxes labeled supplements. But one had been knocked over in their struggle. Spilled out onto the floor weren't protein bars. They were clear, plastic bags filled with blue pills. Thousands of them. And sitting on top of the stack was a semi-automatic pistol. The counterattack had worked better than I dreamed. I hadn't just glued my husband to his mistress. I had glued him to the crime scene. The scene on Tisha's driveway was a grotesque tableau of humiliation and crime. The red and blue lights of the police cruisers strobed against the garage walls, illuminating the disaster in harsh, rhythmic flashes. Darnell and Tisha were still screaming, but their voices had gone hoarse. They were writhing on the concrete, covered in emergency blankets that the paramedics had thrown over them, but the blankets couldn't hide the reality. They were fused. Hip to hip, skin to skin. The X74 adhesive had cured into a bond stronger than bone. Every time they tried to pull apart, skin tore. "I can't separate them," the lead paramedic, a man named Rodriguez, shouted over the noise. "We can't get a gurney in there. We need to lift them together." "Do it!" Darnell roared, tears streaming down his face. "Just get me to the hospital. Get this woman off of me. I want him off me." Tisha shrieked. "He did this. He brought the glue." I stood by the police tape, watching. My face was a mask of shocked, grieving wife, but my mind was recording data points. Tensile strength confirmed. Rapid curing confirmed. Psychological impact, catastrophic. But the glue was now the secondary story. Officer Clayton, a veteran cop with tired eyes, was kneeling by the spilled boxes. He picked up one of the clear bags filled with blue pills. He shone his flashlight on it. "Sarge!" Clayton yelled. "We got a situation here. This isn't GNC stuff." The sergeant walked over. He inspected the bag. He looked at the gun sitting on the stack. "Blue devils," the sergeant muttered. "Synthetic opioids. Street value, massive." He looked at Darnell and Tisha, who were currently being hoisted, screaming in unison, onto a reinforced stretcher. "Looks like we caught the distributors with their pants down." Literally. Detective Tyrell, a sharp-dressed man in a suit who had arrived with the second wave, walked over to me. "Mrs. Mitchell?" "Yes," I whispered, clutching my cardigan around me, playing the role. "I'm sorry you had to see this. Your husband, he's in a lot of trouble. And not just marital." "The pills," I said, widening my eyes. "I thought they were vitamins. For the gym." "They aren't vitamins, ma'am. I'm going to need you to come to the station. After the hospital. We need to know everything you know about Mitchell Fitness." "Of course," I said. I need to go to the hospital. He's still my husband." "We'll drive you," Tyrell said. The hospital. Mercy General's ER had seen everything. Gunshots, car crashes, industrial accidents. They had never seen a husband and mistress glued together in flagrante delicto. They were wheeled into Trauma Room 1. The screaming had stopped, replaced by the whimpering of two people in shock and agonizing pain. I stood in the hallway, watching through the glass. The attending physician, Dr. Evans, looked baffled. He was trying to insert N4 into Darnell's arm while navigating around Tisha's flailing limbs. "What is this substance?" Dr. Evans yelled at the nurses. "Acetone isn't touching it. It's like cement." I walked into the room. "It's not cement," I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. "It's a cyanoacrylate polymer hybrid. Experimental." Dr. Evans looked at me. "Who are you?" "I'm Dr. Zara Mitchell," I said. "I'm a polymer chemist. I'm his wife. And I invented the glue." The room went silent. Darnell stopped whimpering and looked at me with eyes full of pure horror. "You," he rasped. "You knew." "I cleaned the car, Darnell," I said calmly. "I found the tube. I just improved the formula." Dr. Evans looked at me, then at the bond. "Dr. Mitchell, how do we dissolve it?" "You don't," I said clinically. "The solvent is toxic to human tissue. If you use it, it will melt their skin before it melts the bond." "Then what do we do?" "You have to cut," I said. "Surgically. You'll have to excise the top layer of dermis from both of them. They're going to need skin grafts. And it's going to scar." Tisha wailed. "My skin. My body. I'm a model." "Not anymore," I said. "Now you're a cautionary tale." I turned to walk out. "Zara!" Darnell shouted. Help me. The police, they found the stash. You have to tell them I didn't know. Tell them it was Tisha's. I stopped at the door. You want me to lie for you, Darnell? Yes. Please. I'm your husband. You were my husband, I said. Now? You're just a sticky situation. I left them to the scalpels and the police guard posted outside the door. I had work to do. The counterattack wasn't finished. The glue was personal revenge. The drugs, that was business. I needed the burner phone. I had left it in the Escalade. And the Escalade was currently being towed to the police impound lot. I had to get to it before they cataloged the contents. I walked out of the ER. I hailed a cab. Where to, lady? The city impound, I said. And hurry. I arrived at the lot just as the tow truck was unhooking Darnell's SUV. The police hadn't searched it yet, they were too busy with the crime scene at Tisha's house. I had a spare key fob in my purse. I walked up to the attendant booth. The guard was half asleep. I'm Dr. Mitchell, I said, flashing my ID. That's my husband's car. He's in the hospital. Critical condition. He needs his heart medication. It's in the glove box. It was a weak lie, but I sold it with tears. Go ahead, lady, the guard sighed. Don't touch nothing else. I ran to the car. I unlocked it. I opened the glove box. The burner phone was there. Dead battery. I grabbed it. I shoved it into my bra. Found it. I called to the guard. Thank you. I walked away, my heart pounding. I had the evidence. I sat on a bench a few blocks away and plugged the phone into a portable charger I carried. It booted up. Passcode? I tried 0-0-0-0. Nothing. I tried Darnell's birthday. Nothing. I thought about him. His vanity. His ego. I typed, FLEX, 3-5-3-9. Unlock. I opened the messages. The thread with the supplier was active. Supplier, driver says the garage is compromised. Cops everywhere. Where's the product? Supplier, you better not be talking, Mitchell. Supplier, if I lose that shipment, you lose your life. I scrolled up. I found the ledger. Photos of handwritten notes. Darnell wasn't just holding the pills. He was laundering the money through the gym. Mitchell Fitness was a wash cycle. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A text from 3 days ago. Supplier, the chemist is getting suspicious? The wife? Darnell, no. She's clueless. She just mixes glue. But if she gets in the way, I'll handle her. Like we discussed. Supplier, good. Make it look like a lab accident. Fire covers everything. My breath hitched. Darnell hadn't just cheated. He had been planning to kill me. He was going to burn down my house, my lab, and me, to cover his tracks and cash out. The industrial glue prank, it had saved my life. If I hadn't stopped him tonight, I might have been ash by morning. Suddenly, the phone in my hand rang. Incoming call, the supplier. I stared at the screen. If I didn't answer, he would know Darnell was caught. He would go underground. If I did answer. I pressed accept. Where are you? A deep, distorted voice demanded. Why aren't you answering texts? I didn't speak. I listened to the background noise. A train whistle. A specific, 3-tone horn. The harbor. The industrial district. Mitchell, the voice roared. If you sold me out to the cops, I will find your wife. I will find that chemist and I will peel her apart. You won't have to look far, I said. Silence on the line. Who is this? This is the chemist, I said, my voice steady, fueled by the rage of a woman who was almost murdered. Darnell is indisposed. He's currently attached to his other problem. You have my phone, the supplier said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. And you have my product. The police have your product, I corrected. They're logging it into evidence right now. You, dead, bitch. Save the threats, I said. I have Darnell's texts. I have the plan. Lab accident? Really? Very uninspired. I'm coming for you, he said. No, I said. You're not. And why is that? Because, I said, looking at the GPS data embedded in the photos Darnell had sent him, photos of the cash handoffs. Because I know where you are. The shipyard. Warehouse 4B. Darnell takes terrible photos. He left the geolocation tag on. You're bluffing. I'm sending the coordinates to Detective Tyrell right now, I lied. I hadn't yet. I needed leverage. Wait, the supplier said. Desperation crept into his voice. Don't send it. We can deal. 5 million. Cash. Tonight. I don't want your money, I said. I make good money. What do you want? I want Darnell to burn, I said. I want him to take the fall for everything. You stay in the shadows. He goes down as the kingpin. You provide the evidence. You want me to frame your husband? He's not my husband, I said. He's the man who tried to kill me. Send me his signature. Send me the orders he signed. Make him the boss. Do that, and I lose this phone. The supplier laughed. A dry, raspy sound. Cold, he said. I like it. Check your email. I just sent you the insurance file. It has everything you need to put him away for life. The shipment was under his name. The accounts are in his name. I was just the consultant. Pleasure doing business, I said. My phone pinged. An email. I opened it. It was a treasure trove. Darnell's signature on import documents. Darnell's name on the shell companies. The supplier had set him up from the beginning as the fall guy. I had everything I needed. One more thing, I said to the supplier. What? I lied about the police, I said. I haven't called them yet. Good. But I'm calling them now, I said. And I'm giving them the GPS coordinates of Warehouse 4B anyway. You traitorous, click. I hung up. I dialed Detective Tyrell. Detective, I said. I have the leader. And I have the proof. Meet me at the shipyard. I stood up. I wasn't just a chemist. I was a catalyst. And I was about to start a chain reaction that would burn Darnell's world to ash. The shipyard at midnight was a landscape of rusted iron and deep shadows. I sat in the back of Detective Tyrell's unmarked car, the heater humming against the damp chill coming off the water. My laptop was open on my lap, streaming the police frequency. Units in position, Tyrell's voice crackled over the radio. Breach on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute. Through the windshield, I watched as the SWAT team descended on Warehouse 4B. Flashbangs detonated, turning the night white for a split second. The sound of shouting, crashing metal, and then, silence. 10 minutes later, Tyrell walked back to the car. He looked tired, but he was smiling. We got him, he said, leaning in the window. The supplier. His name is Vance. He was packing up to leave the country. We found the lab in the back. Enough synthetic opioids to kill half the state. And the evidence? I asked. We found the laptop, Tyrell said. And the digital trail. It corroborates the email he sent you. Darnell signed for every shipment. Darnell leased the storage units. Darnell is the legal owner of the shell company. Tyrell paused, looking at me with a mixture of respect and concern. And we found the blueprint, Zara. For your house. with the gas lines highlighted. He really was going to burn you out. I nodded slowly. The confirmation didn't hurt. It just calcified the resolve in my chest. Thank you, detective, I said. You realize, Tyrell said, that Vance is going to sing? He's going to try to take everyone down with him. Let him sing, I said. He has the lyrics. But Darnell. Darnell wrote the music. The hospital room. 2 days later, I walked into Darnell's room at Mercy General. He looked diminished. He was lying on his stomach, the only position he could tolerate after the skin grafts on his hip and thigh. Tisha was in a room down the hall, reportedly refusing to speak to anyone, her modeling career ended by a jagged scar the size of a dinner plate. Darnell turned his head as I entered. His eyes lit up with a pathetic, drug-induced hope. Zara, he whispered. You came. I came to bring you your things, I said. I placed a small plastic bag on the bedside table. Inside was his wedding ring. And the tube of lubricant I had retrieved from the police evidence locker. They didn't need the tube, just the chemical sample. Why? He asked, tears filling his eyes. Why did you do this? I loved you. You loved my life insurance, I corrected. I pulled a chair up and sat down. I know about the fire, Darnell. His face went slack. What? The lab accident, I said. The fire covers everything. I read the texts on the burner phone. I know you were planning to kill me. No, he stammered. That was just talk. I wouldn't have done it. You bought the accelerant, I said. I checked the credit card statement from the gym account. 5 gallons of industrial kerosene, purchased last Tuesday. I leaned in close. You weren't just cheating on me. You were plotting my murder while I was washing your clothes. Darnell started to shake. Please, Zara. Don't tell them. I'm already in trouble for the drugs. If they add conspiracy to murder, I'll never get out. I already told them, I said calmly. Detective Tyrell has the receipts. He has the phone. And he has the supplier's testimony. Darnell closed his eyes. So that's it? You're just going to watch me rot? No, I said. I'm going to watch you react. React to what? To the chemistry, I said. I stood up. You see, Darnell, when 2 volatile elements are forced together under pressure, they explode. You and Tisha. You and the supplier. You and me. I walked to the door. I sold the house this morning, I said casually. You what? The house. Our house. I sold it. To the bank. To cover the liens you put on it for your drug loans. I'm keeping the equity from my lab equipment, which I moved out yesterday. Where will you go? He asked, his voice hollow. I'm going to work, I said. I have a new contract. The resolution. The trial was swift and brutal. Darnell Mitchell was convicted of drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit capital murder. The jury didn't have an ounce of sympathy for the man who tried to blow up his scientist wife. He was sentenced to life in federal prison plus 30 years. He spends his days in the prison laundry, where the smell of bleach reminds him, every single day, of the woman who cleaned him out. Tisha, facing charges as an accessory and money laundering, took a plea. 5 years. Her beauty, her brand, vanished. She works in a call center now, anonymously. The supplier, Vance, turned state's evidence on the cartel to avoid the death penalty. He disappeared into the witness protection program, but not before transferring the remaining laundered funds, about $2 million, into a restitution fund. But my legacy was not a restitution check. It was X-74. The glue. The Navy was impressed. Not just by the formula, but by the field test. They bought the patent. For $12 million. But I didn't stop there. I realized that my talent wasn't just in bonding things together. It was in analyzing why they break. I launched Apex Forensics. We are a private laboratory specializing in chemical analysis for criminal defense and prosecution. We find the poisons others miss. We trace the accelerants that arsonists think burned away. We are the scientists who speak for the dead. And my first major purchase? I bought the house across the street. Tisha's house. The one with the red door. I bulldozed it. I didn't build a new house. I built a community science center for girls. The Mitchell Lab. I kept the name. I earned it. He didn't. Every day, I watch young black girls in white coats learn about polymers, about reactions, about the power of observation. I teach them that science isn't just about memorizing formulas. It's about survival. I stood on the sidewalk yesterday, watching the construction crew finish the sign. Mrs. Higgins, my neighbor, walked by. "It's beautiful, Zara," she said. "But, don't you miss him? Don't you miss the life you had?" I looked at the spot where the Escalade used to sit. I smelled the clean, fresh air, free of deceit and gasoline. "No, Mrs. Higgins," I smiled. "I don't miss the volatility. I prefer a stable compound." I walked into my lab, put on my safety goggles, and got back to work. I had a new formula to test. Something unbreakable. Just like me. What this story teaches us is that you should never treat a partner like a variable you can just delete. Because if you mess with the wrong element, you might just blow up the whole lab. If you believe in the power of science and justice, hit that like button. And subscribe to this channel, because we are analyzing the truth, molecule by molecule. We'll see you in the next one.